is Undaunted.Life, a man's podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Let's get into it. All right, guys, I got a random message from one of our followers on Facebook here recently. This was just about a week ago, so this was not the plan for this week's podcast, but I guess I'm going to have to talk about it. This guy was like, hey, he asked me a bunch of different questions, but then he's like, hey, what did you think of that new Bonobos video? And to be honest, I had never heard Bonobos. I don't even know if that's how you say it. Bonobos, Bonobos, whatever. But anyway, it was a commercial out there. And so whenever he sent me the message, he didn't say it was one thing or another. So I really had no idea what he was talking about. But again, we live in this crazy time. We live in 2018. I can pull a supercomputer out of my pocket and figure out what he's talking about. So I pull out my phone and I type in Bonobos Commercial, and I don't even read any of the articles on Google. I literally just go right to the YouTube video and watch it. And so basically, this is a national commercial for the brand, like I already said, Bonobos. And if you don't know what that is, because again, I didn't, that is apparently better fitting, better looking men's clothing and accessories. So basically, it's a clothing and accessories thing for men. But you wouldn't really get that idea from watching this ad. So essentially, what this video did was it spent 90 seconds and it was looking at the definition of the word masculine, okay? And so what I want to do right now is I want to suggest that everybody stop this podcast and click on the link in the podcast notes here, or just search in Google for the Bonobos masculine video. So it'll pop up. It's just a bunch of guys reading, and then they're kind of talking to the screen, a little bit of a gray background, because I want to talk about this video today, and I want to kind of break it down, basically frame by frame, word by word, and give my opinion on it, because I've had several people ask me about it already. But none of this commentary is really going to make sense unless you go watch the video. It takes 90 seconds. If you're in your car, make sure you're safe. Maybe pull over, wait till you're at a red light before you click on the link. Again, please make sure that you're safe. But go ahead and click on the link in the show notes or find it online, the Bonobos masculine video. Click on it, watch it, and then come back here. All right, guys, if you're back, you've obviously watched this commercial, so I don't know what you're thinking about it, but I'll go ahead and give you my thoughts here. So obviously this video is looking at the given definition of masculine. And so apparently this is the definition that you get if you type in the word masculine into Google. This isn't the Merriam-Webster definition, but it's pretty close. So this is what they're describing as the definition of masculine in this video. So it's an adjective, and it's having qualities or appearance traditionally associated with men, especially strength and aggressiveness. And then it lists these synonyms: macho, manly, muscular, well-built, red-blooded, strapping, strong, brawny, and powerful. So that's essentially what it gets from the video. That's what it's giving us. And if you look at the description in the YouTube video, like if you look down a little bit and look at the description, this is what the description says. If you search for, quote, masculine, unquote, it is defined by having qualities traditionally associated with men, especially strength and aggressiveness. The synonyms paint a picture of men as macho, powerful, red-blooded, and vigorous. That limited definition doesn't cover every man out there. Instead of asking men to fit into a preconceived notion of, quote, being a man, unquote, let's hashtag evolve the definition of masculine and create a world where every man fits. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the breakdown of this video. So before I get into the breakdown of really the messaging here, I just want to talk about the video from a strictly marketing perspective. So this is going to be full-on marketing nerd coming out in this video, but this is marketing 101. So the win here for this brand, Bonobos, is it got us talking about their company, right? I mean, this video has been talked about quite a bit. People have written blogs, that reference this, and they're saying they like it or they don't like it, but at least they're getting us talking about it. This isn't just another video online that just went along with all the other noise, actually got us to talk about it. So there's your win. But there's a couple pretty significant losses for this company here. The first is that if you watch this ad and you've never heard of Bonobos before, you will have no idea what this ad is for, like what the company does. What does the company sell? Is there a service? You would have no clue whatsoever. And another big loss is, this isn't like a common word, like the name of this brand. It's not a common word. It's not like foot or cup or something like that. So the other loss for them is we don't know how to pronounce the name of the company. Here you are doing your first national advertising ad campaign, and you never mention the name of your company. No one ever says it out loud, so no one knows exactly how to pronounce it, and no one knows what your company does, like at all. So that's just the marketing 101. They think they've won here, but the people that did the ad campaign, yeah, they've gotten people to watch it, but has anyone really gone to Bonobos and started to shop there because of this? Gosh, I cannot imagine so. So let's get into a little bit more of a description of what's going on in this video. So the first thing I think the video really struggles with, or the people that made the video are struggling with, this is a video that's all about definitions, but it can't keep to keep the subject matter straight. So we're talking about definitions here and how important they are, but they can't even define for us what we're defining or what the video is supposed to be defining. So I feel like this video conflates the word masculine with the phrase being a man, and even with the word male. So it's using these terms interchangeably, but these definitions of these terms are not interchangeable. Yes, there are connections between the word masculine, the phrase being a man, and the word male, but they're all different definitions. Because again, male is basically you have a Y chromosome in male sex organs. Being a man or manhood, everyone's got their own definition. For us, we always say the same definition. It's a guy that cultivates spiritual, mental, and physical resilience daily. I don't think the people that made this video would agree with that, but it is what it is. And then the term masculine, I'll just read it again as we got it from the beginning. It's an adjective that means having qualities or appearance traditionally associated with men, especially strength and aggressiveness. So, but the thing that I think is important here, again, I think this video struggles with, is being a man is a phrase, male is a noun, masculine is an adjective. So what is an adjective? I'm going to take y'all back to elementary school here. Adjective is a word or a phrase that's naming an attribute. So it's added to or grammatically related to a noun or to modify it or describe it in some way. It's a descriptor. That's what an adjective is. So this video is kind of going out there and getting mad at a descriptive word, which seems odd. Like why would we be mad about something that's describing something else? And we'll get more into it a little bit later in terms of definitions and what that looks like. But yeah, that's kind of like the very first thought I had was like, what exactly is this supposed to be doing? Because people are throwing around all these terms and everyone's got a different definition for the terminology. And that's part of the problem. When we can't solidify the definition of something, it becomes an issue. But now let's get into some of the quotes that specifically came out of this video. And so you'll see the different guys that, they're reading off of the same screen and they're reading the definition here. Some are laughing and giggling, and they just, it's probably a couple of dozen guys that are reading through this. But I want to break down a couple of quotes in particular and talk about them. So one of the first quotes you see here is, I think that definition is a little scary. Right? So it's a guy that just got finished reading the definition that we've read twice already. And he says, I think that definition is a little scary. It freaking should be. I don't really understand the issue here. It shouldn't be easy or convenient to be masculine, right? The definition is what it is. There's been no need to change that. But it really shouldn't be easy for us or convenient to be masculine, because some of the things that are listed there are maybe not things that come natural to guys. Maybe something that they have to cultivate, something that we talk about all the time. So here's the deal. But for some guys, being masculine does come natural. For a lot of you guys listening to this right now, you're the exact audience that I'm talking to. Masculinity just comes easy to you. It's just part of who you are, right? As a man. But what comes naturally to us is sometimes scary. Sometimes guys are naturally very, very angry and aggressive. That can be scary. And on the other side, some guys are very almost too calm and too docile. That's kind of scary, but in a different way, right? So this guy reads words on a page and he's like, and he gets all scared. It's just oh, that's scary. Why is that scary? What about a definition should be scary? It's a definition. It's words on a page. Now, if it was defined incorrectly, and it was done by some sort of nefarious group, some sort of Illuminati type of thing, then yeah, that's scary. If things like that start changing the definitions of things that we all commonly agree upon, that's scary. But just reading a definition off the internet? Come on, dude. So there was another quote here that I found really interesting, and it was, you define your own masculinity. There was a guy early in the video. You defined your own masculinity. So I'm going to do an entire podcast episode later about this exact subject, but we kind of live in the generation of quote unquote my truth. Well, this is my truth. This is what I believe. This is what I believe to be true. And it's normally emotive. It's normally feelings based. But here's the reality is a definition either means something or it doesn't. Right? I mean, the definition of a table and the definition of a microphone, those are not the same thing. Those are two separate things, so they require separate definitions. Even if your microphone is on a table, maybe they're related to one another, they can be used as a descriptor for one another, or you can use them in the same sentence, but they're totally separate things. So when people are like, you define your own masculinity, what in the world do you mean? Masculinity either is something or it's not something. The definition is what it is. And again, I keep saying this, but a little bit later, we'll talk a little bit about kind of the dangers of trying to redefine things and how it kind of becomes a little bit ridiculous. But again, you define your own masculinity. You hear that a lot now. And again, it's always in the context of my truth. You define your truth. You define what's right for you. You define ethics. You define morality. It's just this pluralistic society and this pluralistic idea that basically everything's relative. I mean, it's social relativism is what it is. So let's get into another quote here. It was this. For me, being masculine means being brave enough to be who I am. So, interestingly enough, as you're going through this video, if you watch it just once, you might miss this, but I'm pretty positive there are two trans dudes, or that would mean these are women that think that they're men. So, two trans people that say quotes throughout this video, right? But I'm almost positive, almost 100% sure, I'd bet $100 on it, that the person that said the quote, for me, being masculine means being brave enough to be who I am, is a woman that thinks she's a man. Okay. So that's the first thing. And so I feel like it's very interesting how I feel like this group snuck them into this video. Because again, there's probably 24 guys in a video that's only 90 seconds long. But the two people that are in there, you can kind of pick up a little bit of the facial features and some of the qualities of the voice that's like, oh, well, I'm pretty sure that's a woman that thinks they're a man, right? And the thing that I find really appalling and somewhat, embarrassing for them is this whole redefinition of bravery. I feel like this modern generation has tried to take or lay claim to the definition of bravery, right? Think of the things that you've heard recently that were brave. I mean, just recently, there was the guy, Peter Strzok, who was basically testifying in front of Congress, who he may have been doing some nefarious things for the FBI against President Donald Trump. There was a guy, a Democrat, that basically said he deserves a Purple Heart for what he's doing, for being so brave, to basically come in front of Congress and lie about what he was doing during his job. This dude, this Yahoo, this Democrat, I got to get his name and I'll give it to you later, but he's like, you deserve a Purple Heart. So he deserves a medal that you give to somebody that was wounded in war. Come on. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, it's like the theater of the absurd. It's absolutely ridiculous. Because here's the thing, kind of getting back to the content of the video, we hear that a lot now about people that are coming out as trans, right? So they are a biological male. They think they're a female. They're a biological female. They think they're a male. And we're touting these people as how brave they are. I mean, remember back at the ESPY Awards, whenever Bruce Jenner came out and, changed his name to Caitlyn, but then they gave him a Courage Award and talked about his bravery for coming out as a woman. Let's just be honest though, right? Being delusional about your sex is not brave. It's fantasy land. Like, cutting off your dick and wearing a dress is not brave. Like, that's really kind of a ridiculous thing for us to be thinking about. And I think it was interesting. There were so many little tidbits that they just tried to slide into this video, and that was one of them. And certainly if you had any kind of a brain, you would have caught it. But they're just trying to lecture us about what being masculine means in terms of what is brave and what is not, like as if someone being delusional and having a mental issue is brave somehow. And guys, I've had a lot of you ask this for Q&A and stuff, and I promise, later on this year, I'm going to do a full episode on gender dysphoria, because I think it's incredibly important with that being so pertinent in modern culture and everyone talking about it and having opinion on it. It's one thing that, unfortunately, not a whole lot of guys are talking about from the pulpit. There's not a whole lot of guys that are talking about the definitions of manhood and womanhood and what God thinks about that. So we have a lot of people basically spewing misinformation. And when you get videos like this, it just kind of exacerbates that. And then at the end of the video, kind of the last quote here that I'll talk about, it says this: what does it mean to be masculine? It's more a question of, what does it mean to be human? Like, oh my gosh. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, that literally ends with that. What does it mean to be masculine? It's more a question of, what does it mean to be human? Like, it's so hilarious. Like, the thing about this is the video is trying so hard to be grandiose and like otherworldly and super relevant, but it just ends up being like self-serving virtue signaling. It's just like, it's It's tired. It's boring. Like this, again, this entire video is about definitions, but at the end, it then tries to conflate the definitions of two separate things, masculine and human. That's what this video tried to do. It tried to make two things that are not the same, that could be used to describe one another. It tried to make them the same thing. Like, it's more a question of what does it mean to be human? No! The question of the definition of masculine is, what is masculinity? What does it mean to be masculine? So again, there's such and again, I think the video was it was well done visually, and the audio sounded good and all that, but I think the narrative of the video it was so lost, regardless of even if you agree with the point of view. It was just like, what were you trying to get across? It was just like down the line, check, bad, miss the mark. And then at the end, you try to make some grand statement. Good grief. Like this, I've seen better stuff out of freshman marketing students at local community colleges. Like, it just, you have to have some sort of a narrative. Shooting it with an HD camera and making sure the audio is mixed well is part of the process, but you have to tell a narrative that makes sense. Doing this whole dog and pony show and then 125 seconds into the video basically saying that, what does it mean to be masculine is the same thing as being human. It's just ridiculous. But I want to kind of come out more 30,000 foot view here and talk about what this video actually is. Okay. And the reality of this is regardless of your political persuasion. Obviously, most of you know by now, I'm right of center. I'm more conservative in my viewpoints. I have some libertarian viewpoints and leanings as well, but almost no part of me leans liberal. So there's your fair warning. But what this video is, guys, this is left-wing social justice warrior propaganda. That's what this is. And if even if you're on the left side of the aisle, or if you're left of center, if you're a little bit more liberal, or you're crazy out there liberal, you should be able to admit that that's exactly what this video is. This is not an advertisement. I have no idea how their shirts fit, and I have no idea if I want to wear their glasses, right? Like, I got no idea as to what this company can do for me. I don't even know if the guys in this video are wearing Bonobos clothing. Again, I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. But the thing about this video is there are already some sites and blogs. This video, as of this recording, is only about a week old. They're already claiming that this video has changed the definition of masculinity. They're like claiming victory. It's just ridiculous. I don't quite understand it. But to be honest with you, I feel like this ad could have backfired on this company. I really do. Because if you go to YouTube, as of the recording of this podcast, there are just over 7 million views on YouTube. There's 16,000 thumbs ups. But get this, there are 34,000 thumbs down. 16,000 thumbs up, 34,000 thumbs down. It is very rare to find a YouTube video like that. Whether it's a YouTube video of a local professor giving some sort of a speech or something like that, or even music videos, you don't see that kind of disparity. Because I think most people get what this video was trying to do. They realize that it was sloppy and they disagree with the messaging. Like here's the thing is, if you go on Twitter, or if you go on some of these like chat sites or discussion boards and you look and see, people think this video is a joke. They think it's ridiculous. Like there's a few people that are like, oh, it's so brave and this is like the greatest thing ever. But at the end of the day, most people think this is a joke. There's not this big wave of approval. Now, we have the normal tribal people, you know what I mean? The people that run to the left side of the aisle or the right side of the aisle, like those people just run everywhere else. But there's a lot of people in the middle that think this ad is kind of stupid, right? Again, I already told you I'm right of center, but even if you just look at this video as just a neutral observer, you see it and you're just kind of like, yeah, like that didn't really do at all what you thought it was going to do. So here's the thing is for people that maybe think that this video is good, that they're like, oh my gosh, this is such an inspiring message. For the people that think that, I have some reality checks for you. So we're going to go reality check on you. So I got a few things I want to kind of talk to you about. The first reality check is that this video is essentially just beta males lecturing society on masculinity, which is hilarious. Like, it'd be like me lecturing a woman on what she should be doing during the second trimester. What in the world? I'm not a medical doctor, and I'm also not a woman that's been pregnant before, right? I mean, but the thing that's so funny about this is, and again, I promise, I always say that. I'll talk about it on a later podcast. I'm going to do an entire podcast on this idea of beta males. But the thing about these guys is all these guys in this video kind of fit the mold of a beta male, right? One of us knows what an alpha is. And so we kind of have an idea of what a beta male is. But the thing that's really funny and interesting about this to me is that these beta males and guys like it in this video, they have benefited greatly from alpha males. You know, all those alpha males that like decided that we were going to separate from England, that we were going to become our own country and then fight a war to do that, all those alpha males. You know, those alpha males that stormed the beaches of Normandy to push back, you know, socialism and communism and fascism, you know, those guys. Like the people, the alpha males that have gone out there and created industry and created all these things that we can do now, that created the YouTube platform. I'm sure there are a lot of beta males that run the marketing company and advertising company that created this video. So all these things that these people do, were created by these alpha males that had these ideas. And here these betas are trying to lecture us on what masculinity is. Rich, super, super rich. Here's another reality check. Not every man will fit into the given definition of masculinity. And that's fine. But not every man that you know, and maybe not even you don't fit that given definition of masculinity. Look, there are women with masculine qualities. There are men with feminine qualities. But here's the deal, is you can't change the definition of something just because you don't like it. But that's exactly what people in the modern political left are doing. They do this all the time. And it has a lot to do, guys, with this modern wussy nanny state, you know, millennial Gen Z culture where it's like, okay, if you lose, we'll change the rules of the game. You know, if you don't measure up, we'll lower the bar. You know, if the definition of the term doesn't fit you exactly, we'll expand the definition so it's more inclusive, right? I mean, that's the thing is we're expanding things so far that makes it so hard to be descriptive. I mean, you used to be able to say that somebody was fat and unhealthy, but now they're big and beautiful. Let's embrace the fact that we're morbidly obese because we're beautiful anyway. And I'm not talking about in the sight of God. I'm just talking about it in general. You need to be telling those people, no, you need to lose some weight. Like, you're not taking care of yourself. This is not healthy. This is not beautiful. I mean, you used to be able to say to someone that they were rude and obnoxious, but now they're loud and proud. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about people on both sides of the aisle here. Like, you're obnoxious and you're not treating people with dignity or with respect, but you're not rude and obnoxious. You're loud and proud. Like, I don't understand that. It doesn't make any sense. And I guess the last reality check that I have is this Evolve the Definition video, right? It does nothing to evolve the definition of the word masculine. It does nothing. This video, in fact, is a rejection of the definition of masculine. Absolutely. Because here's the thing, guys. Definitions don't change unless there is some kind of new discovery, right? I mean, I hope that makes sense. Well, let me give you kind of an example. So the definition a couple thousand years ago, the definition of the word earth, when everyone thought that the earth was flat, they would have been like, you know, it's this flat piece of land that we all live on, right? That's probably something along the lines of the definition. But when we realized that the earth was not flat, that you couldn't fall off the edge, sorry, Eddie Bravo, you can't do that, that the earth is actually round, the definition of earth would have invariably changed. Because now it's this round thing that we all live on, right? So there are parts of the definition, you know, integral, specific parts of the definition that do, by definition, change the definition. That's just kind of how it goes. But who in their right mind is looking at this video and seeing what's going on in this video and thinking to themselves, yeah, well, I thought one thing about masculinity, and now I think another thing. Like, really? Like, this video just misses the mark entirely. It's not evolving the definition, okay? But I want to kind of transition here as we close out talking about this video. I want to talk about why this commercial is important to Christian men, or why it should be. And kind of the first reason that I think of that it's important for Christian men is because we need to beware the word evolve. We really need to beware of the word evolve. Because the thing about the word evolve, guys, it's usually code for something else. Don't we know that to be true? You know, evolve is normally something that someone will use it at the same time. They'll use the word progressive or progress, right? Which is more something that people on the radical left side of the political sphere, that's their agenda. It's these people that are claiming progressive things. But that always kind of begs the question when you hear the word evolve or progress or progressive. Progressing towards what? Progressing towards what exactly? I mean, is it progress now in 2018 to say that there are more than two genders? That gender is a social construct, that gender is on some sort of a spectrum? Is that progress? Is it progress that biological males are now allowed to compete in some women's sports and they're smoking these women? Is that progress? Is it progress? You have people now that are raising a toddler as both genders. Like, I don't know if you guys saw this. Maybe I should do an entire episode on this, but I think it was last week. NBC News did a story about Theybies. So it's Theybies. Theybies. So not babies, Theybies. So this was a story about these parents of twins in Massachusetts, and they were raising these twin boys, raising them as neutrally gendered. So they basically are going to allow these children to decide their own genders. Children, people that cannot even wipe their own butts. They're going to be like, we're just going to raise them as both sexes and let them decide with no regard to Y chromosomes or genitalia. Is that progress? Have any of the things that I've just mentioned, would that make you think progress in any way, shape, or form? Because it shouldn't. That is such a regressive mindset. We're going antithetical, anti-intellectual at this point. You get these people on the political left that all they want to talk about is intellect and being on the smart side of things and on the right side of history. But how in the world is this progress? I mean, I've seen some opinions this week about the Theybies couple that what they're doing is child abuse, and I tend to agree with that. Yeah, it is child abuse. Like, you're not helping these people develop into adults. Like, these people, these are not individuals that have struggled with an idea about their sexual identity, about their gender identity. They haven't struggled with that yet. They're literally red-blooded 2-year-old boys. It's just sick. It's sickening. It's not progress. It's just not progress. Now, the second thing that I think is important for Christian men to understand here is that manhood is under attack. And guys, I'm clearly not the first person to say that, and it's certainly not the first time I've said this on this podcast or on some of our other content. But we shouldn't pretend that it's not. Manhood is under attack, and it's under attack all the time. You've probably heard people talk about this, but think about all the dads that you see depicted on television. Aren't they all dopes? Like, think of any show. How many dads are like alpha dads that got it going on? They got things figured out. It's normally the mom that's got everything figured out, or the kids are smarter than the parents. It's attacking manhood. And even last week, king of the beta males, Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama, with all due respect, he had this comment that he gave in a speech that he was giving in Johannesburg, South Africa. He said, men have been getting on my nerves lately. Men have been getting on my nerves lately. He was basically calling for more women in politics, right? Which, I guess that's okay. But the interesting thing there, he was just saying women in general, not any particular women or any particular type of woman. So it's as if by writ of genitalia, the women would be better in politics than some of these men that Barack Obama happens to not agree with. Right? I just don't understand why so many of us guys were sitting back and allowing manhood to be attacked. Because to a certain degree, we're seeing this happen in all kinds of areas. And people talk about toxic masculinity all the time, which, again, for I think the third time this episode, I will do a future episode just on toxic masculinity. But that's basically code for, I don't really like you, and I don't really like what you stand for. And because you're a male and you're cisgendered, or you're white, or you're rich, or you're whatever, I can somehow put you down now. As if that somehow evens the score. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. But we can't just sit here and pretend like manhood's not under attack, guys. And look, you don't have to get you and all your manly buddies together and go fight anybody. Like, that's not going to change anything. But we do need to kind of stand up when people are saying stupid things, like pretty much everything that was said in this video. Like, repudiate this. Damn it to hell, because it's hogwash. It's bullcrap, right? And the last thing that I think I want to talk about for us guys here is that secular society sees Christianity as the ultimate patriarchy, right? So we always hear about the evil patriarchy and what it's done to suppress women and what it's done to suppress all these things. And here's the thing, is the reason why Christianity is kind of the ultimate patriarchy is because it's a religion that was founded by a man, that was surrounded by other men, that were kind of undergirded by a law that was propagated by men, right? So I think I nailed everybody in the Old and the New Testament there. But secular society is trying to destroy Christianity. It's not trying to live with it. It's not trying to just deal with it. It's trying to destroy it. And one of the easiest things that you can do to destroy something is you start taking its legs out, right? If you got a chair with 4 legs on it, you take one out. It's a whole lot less chair at that point, right? You get what I'm saying. So I don't want to oversimplify it too much. But at the end of the day, guys, we have to be on guard here, because some people are going to say, I'm not going to listen to the message of Jesus because Jesus was a man, right? And all the people that wrote down what he did, they were also men. And I'm not down with that, because men are the patriarchy and men have suppressed this and men are suppressed that. To those individuals, I would say, to the Christian societies that were actually living by the things that we got from the law and from the Gospels, from the messages of Jesus, are those women not flourishing in those environments and societies? Because I tend to believe that with the equality that Jesus saw people, men and women, that in the societies where women are held up and revered and respected, that's a very Christian ideal. I don't think you can say the same for Islam, can you? Where women are just now in 2018 getting the ability to drive in Saudi Arabia. There's women that still can't testify in court cases. If a woman is raped, there has to be multiple other male witnesses to the rape. I think it's like 4 or 5 male witnesses. Those are very Islamic things that people are done, things that are coming from Sharia law or things that we see in the Hadith or the Quran. You don't see that in the New Testament. But again, if you don't know these things, how are you going to defend yourself? How are you going to defend the gospel of Jesus Christ if you can't even understand that Christianity is not the patriarchy? It's not withholding things from people and holding people down. It's the only thing that can save them and bring them up. The only thing. So again, guys, it may seem like I'm pretty fired up with this video. I mean, I got to be honest, the first time I watched it, I just laughed. I just laughed and shook my head. But then the more I watched it, and as I was preparing for this podcast, since again, this video only came about a week ago, so it's relevant still, I was just like, man, I had all kinds of emotions, angry, sad, disappointed, confused. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. But how many people watch this and were like, yeah, that's probably about right. These dopes going out there just basically like, yeah, that's kind of, I guess, how it is. No, man, like that's not how it is at all. So again, I do videos like this because I want you guys to be aware of things that are out there. This is not innocent. This is not just, it's just a left-wing company kind of doing a video and putting it out there. No, this is an attack. And this isn't, tinfoil hat stuff, guys. And there's nothing that you need to do other than be aware and be ready to push back darkness where you can. So hopefully this video, or this podcast rather, has helped you do that today. So guys, before I let you go, let's do a quick resilience boost. As you know by now, we are a men's ministry and our mission is cultivating manly resilience. And specifically, we help you do that by providing content that forges spiritual, mental, and physical toughness. So today we're going to do a little bit of a mental resilience boost. So I've already given you the link and talked about the link to this video. So if you haven't watched it now, you're probably like, what is he even talking about? So go watch the video. It'll make everything make sense. But also I gave you the story, the NBC News story about, it's called Boy or Girl, Parents Raising Theybies, Let Kids Decide. Okay, so I already talked about the issues there, but I wanted you to be able to read the article for yourself because I gave you a very, very brief overview of what was going on in that article, so I want you to read it for yourself. But since basically if you read those two things, it'll partially fry your brain, I want to help you come up on the other side with something awesome. So I want to suggest a podcast episode to you. So if you're not listening to the GreatMan podcast yet, so that's another one of Stephen Mansfield's podcasts. He's a good friend of the show. We love Stephen Mansfield. The GreatMan podcast, and that's GreatMan camel case. So capital G-R-E-A-T, capital M-A-N. The last episode of that I thought was fantastic. So it was the episode that was released this week. It's called A Word to Churches. So if you're listening to this later, just go back and find the episode, A Word to Churches. And so I've got the link here because this is on Stitcher, Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts again, and Google Play. So that's a great thing. It basically talks about men's ministry, and it talks really a lot about the things that we talk about here on this podcast, but it's basically more so within the capital C church. So guys, thank you as always for listening up to this point. We really, really do appreciate it. Please subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Google Play and refer your friends to listen, and share this on social media. If you use the hashtag Undaunted.Life, we'll be sure to find the post and give it a thumbs up. If we deserve a 5-star review, guys, please hit that 5th star, but don't just hit the 5th star. Make sure you leave 2 or 3 sentences letting us know why you like the podcast so we can keep putting out the content that you want. I'm currently booking speaking engagements for the remainder of 2018 and the beginning of 2019. So if you want me to come speak to your company or to your retreat or to your church or Sunday school or whatever, hit me up at info@Undaunted.Life, info@Undaunted.Life. Our website is www.Undaunted.Life. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter @Undaunted.Life or Facebook.com/Undaunted.Life. Check out our free devotionals on the YouVersion Bible app. Just search the term, or the phrase rather, Undaunted Life under plans. We also want to thank the band August Burns Red for allowing us to use their music library for our content. The intro-outro track on this podcast is their song King of Sorrow, which is off their latest record entitled Phantom Anthem. The links to all of this is in the description. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Remember, keep cultivating manly resilience, keep forging spiritual, mental, and physical toughness, keep seeking the Lion of Judah.